What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video lesson. We're going from zero to producer in 90 days with Ableton Live. I'm your instructor, Torbjorn. Big thanks to Ableton for extending that free trial. Ableton Live 10 Suite version free for 90 days. While we're all stuck at home in quarantine, we can stay creative and stay productive. Let's quickly review what we were looking at last time. Part 2 of our project, the sketching part of our project. Last video, we were outlining what type of hybrid genre we were going to work on and why we were doing that type of song. And we wrote a chord progression for the intro, and we wrote a little 16-bar section here of our first drop, which is going to be dubstep style, roughly. And now I wanted to go ahead and scoot over here to drop 2 and put together the initial sketch idea for our trap drop. So our drums are going to be pretty similar. We can start by just copying and pasting that drum pattern over. And we're going to add some extra kick drums, and we're going to make a new bass sound. First thing, let's make that 808. I'm going to go in here to my instruments and grab a sampler, and I'm gonna go down to my sample collection. I always like making 808s out of this one particular sample from the 808 Warfare Pack number 23. Go ahead and drag that in, and let's use our tuner to just make sure that that's all correct. We can see here that we're playing C3 is what it says down here at the bottom when we change our octave range. And we are seeing a C, but I don't think we're seeing it in the right octave. So I'm going to put this down to a C1. Now when I'm playing an F in octave 1, it's playing an F note in octave 1. I'm going to go ahead and select a little moment of time here, make a new MIDI clip, and I'm going to just draw in some bass notes. That sounds pretty good. Let's zoom in here to our sampler, mess with a few things. I want to mess with that pitch envelope first and foremost, so we get a little bit of that modulation happening. Let's try it 2 octaves. The default is 600. I thought it was going to need to be shorter, but that actually sounded okay. We'll kind of copy the same succession of notes from our wobble bass in our first drop. Going up 1 semitone and then going up to an A. And then I like to do this little turnaround here. I actually put it on the wrong notes. F. We'll do an E and a C. Ba, ba, ba. Usually sounds pretty nice. So now I like the rhythm. Now I just want to make sure that the kick drum matches that. Let's duplicate this loop. Duplicate it again. And make sure we've got those 2 kick drums there. All right, now let's find some hi-hats. We're going to do the kind of stuttered hi-hat trick, 1, 2, 3, and then we'll put our triplet grid on and do some fast ones. Those might have been too fast. Something kind of like that. I think that's all right. We can copy that over couple times, and we can just turn the velocity down on these hi-hats so they don't need to be so loud. And maybe we'll lose these hi-hats and we'll shorten this last bass here, and then we'll add one of our like wobble sounds back in. Right down here, we can just copy one of our wobbles from the first drop, this little MIDI clip right here. We can do it a second time. Make sure I'm grabbing the right note here, shorten that one. And just make a little selection here of our drums, Command J, and we'll duplicate that over because I've changed some stuff with the hi-hats. All right, drums and bass, that's like a little bit simple still, but it's more or less doing what we need it to do. Now I want to do the classic festival banger trap trick, and we're just going to go here and search for brass samples. And we're just going to add an extra layer of these sounds. This one is a C, so we'll need to pitch that one either up or down to get it to an F. Tried it high, but I think it sounds better low. Everything sounds better low pitch. That's what Mark Ronson says anyways. Can probably shorten that a little bit. Just kind of finessing this a little bit with audio. I like to do these things with audio because you do have the fade in and fade out tool if you're using this in MIDI like with a sampler, but what you don't have is this middle curve of your fade, which can be really useful if you want something to fade out super fast or you want it to fade out over a longer period of time. You just get that extra little bit of detail, which is always super helpful. And we'll copy this one over, shift that up one semitone to a F sharp. Do a couple short ones here. And I'm not a big fan of these two 808s because we've got that pitch modulation on there. It's kind of just getting a little bit funky with those notes being really short. So I'm going to just grab a different 808 sample and just do it with audio. So we can do the be-do trick at the end, my little like 808 turnaround thing that I do in quite a bit of my tracks, actually. Sometimes I do it with 808s. Sometimes I'll do it with toms. So we may switch that up, actually. That one's pretty good. However, I do want to just double check what the notes are supposed to be here at the end. We got a, what is that, an E and a C. That's right. So we'll throw our handy dancer tuner on this 808. That's an A flat. It's a little bit sharp of an A flat, so we'll detune that. That's a little bit better. And then, what did I say? E. So let's pitch that up. A flat, A, B flat, B, C, D flat, D, E flat, E. Oh, we can turn warping off. Ba, ba, ba. Those are the notes I'm looking for. So there's our E. Pitch this next one down. Ba, ba, ba. Nice, there we go. We'll make the high ones maybe even higher. Shift them up an octave. Warping is off, so we'll have to stretch those clips out a little bit. Yeah, that's what I'm going for. We can even kind of make those 808s have a little bit more of like a plucky characteristic by dragging those fades out. And again, this middle diamond here lets us like further kind of finesse that fade exactly the way we want it. So maybe the first one can be really long. Yeah, and the second one a bit shorter. That's much nicer. All right, let's copy these things over. We can actually just delete that and just copy our whole 8 bars here. Make sure we got our blue womp bass thing. And let's take a listen to this trap drop now. Excellent. I think I might even just add a just an offbeat hi-hat every other bar. So on every other beat. So beat 2 and beat 4. Maybe we'll do it on not on the first one because we've got some stutter hi-hats there, and then we'll get rid of the stutter hi-hats the second time. And then we'll just make sure that we're not overlapping that hi-hat with any closed ones. Oh, and we can get rid of that one, so we have more room for that wobble. Whoa. All right, let's loop that over. Turn loop on. All right, that's a pretty good sketch for a trap drop. I don't think we need to go that much deeper than that, but let's listen back to what we've got. So here's our chord progression in the intro. Some 7th chords. So remember, we're familiar with triads, that 3-note chord, and we're just using the same technique, skipping another scale degree to add that 4th note on top, and that's kind of that jazz sound. And then we get our different resolved chord at the end of the chord progression, and then into our dubstep drop. Yeah, I like that vocal sample a lot. I think that vocal sample is going to have to get recycled a little bit more. I could definitely see that being a crucial part of the song. And I'll skip ahead to our trap drop. All right, that's a solid start. That's a solid sketch. We've got 2 different things for drops here. They have some similar sounds and some unique sounds, but in terms of tempo and sample choice and overall kind of vibe, you can see that we're starting with our energy level really low and we go up in that dubstep drop. We're going to bring it back down again for our breakdown, and then we're going to build it up for our second drop. And hopefully, if we do our job well and make this intro section here relatively similar so that we get this kind of nostalgic feeling when we come back to that section for the drop, people will expect this dubstep drop to come back or something similar, but we're going to switch the genre on them and bring in this high-energy trap drop with the horns and the 808s and all that stuff. We'll continue to sketch and finesse these ideas and do some edits in the next video. But hopefully this just goes to show that it can be quite fast and quite simple to get your ideas going when you're just sketching out quick ideas. we kind of have to listen through the sketch. You have to imagine some sounds that aren't there yet. We have to imagine some of the techniques, the editing, the sound designing stuff that will be there in the future, and sort of like hear into the future, if that makes sense. That's kind of one of the things that you'll develop as you produce more and more tracks. So hopefully watching me go through this quick process of sketching this trap drop was useful. And try a bunch of different things. Listen to songs and listen what sounds they're using. Remember freesounds.org, looperman.com, or a simple Google search, and you can find all these kind of samples that I'm using, the brass samples, 808 samples. What else did we had? Some dub percussion and that vocal sample. You definitely can find those resources for free on the internet. I've done my sample digging already and organized my folders, as you saw, so I was able to just pull those things out nice and quick. If you don't have an extensive sample library, it's a good idea to go through and dig for some of those sounds before you start sketching. I feel like nothing throws my creativity off worse than when I need something and I don't have it, and then I have to press pause on what I'm working on to either make the sound or to go find the sound. So the more of that kind of arduous labor that you can do in the beginning, the more that you can just focus on the creative task when it comes time to actually open up the Ableton software and get writing. Speaking of Ableton software, big thanks to Ableton for extending that trial. Ableton Live 10 Suite for 90 days. We're staying productive and we're staying creative. We'll be back with the next part. We're going to be finishing this sketch and we're going to get into editing all of our stuff. After that, we've got sound designing, mixing, and a little bit of mastering, and some more online promotion tools so we can use this not just to showcase a cool piece of art that we made, but to start growing our fan base on the internet as well. Make a lot of beats, stay productive, have fun, and happy producing. Peace out. I'll see you next time.